This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Do you ever have a story that you just can't get out of your head?
One that you play the details of over and over with your friends?
Well, you've come to the right place. I'm Claire.
And I'm Susan.
And this is Justice Pending,
a weekly true crime podcast where we discuss tantalizing crimes with more questions than answers.
Hey everyone, it's Claire.
And I'm Susan, and this is Justice Pending, the podcast where we peel back the layers of unresolved, uncomfortable, or unjust cases. We don't do sensational, we ask what happened, and why haven't we gotten the full truth?
Today's case is one that's haunted us for a while. It's mysterious, it's messy, and it has left a family searching for justice for years. This is the story of Tamla Horsford. I want to thank longtime listener and friend of the show, Laurel Hostler, for reminding me about this case and asking us to cover it.
So let's get right into it. Tamla was 40 years old, a mother of 5. She loved football, had a magnetic personality, and from what everyone says, she was quick to make new friends and get along with just about anyone.
So let's set the scene. It's November 3rd, 2018, when Tamla attends a birthday slumber party for one of those friends, Gene Myers, in Forsyth County, Georgia. It was supposed to be a fun, girls only night, but by the next morning, Tamla was dead.
Her body was found face down in the backyard, wearing pajamas in the grass. The Forsyth County Sheriff's Office quickly ruled it an accident, said she fell from the second floor deck. But Tamla's friends and family and thousands of strangers online were not buying it.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. This case is all over the internet, TikTok, Reddit, you name it. Tamla's case even got the Rolling Stone treatment in 2020. And according to witnesses, this is what we know about that night. Tamla showed up around 8:30 p.m. with a bottle of tequila. She'd made dinner for her husband and kids before heading over. She was that kind of mom. She was thoughtful. And once she got there, the vibe was light. There was a group of women. They were joking around. They were wearing pajamas. And they even played Cards Against Humanity.
I do love that game.
Yeah,
It's like a perfect pajama party game for a group, right? I
totally.
mean, for a group of women. But it actually wasn't strictly women. So Jean's boyfriend, so it's Jean's birthday party, right? Jean's birthday party.
Yes.
Jean's boyfriend, Jose Barrera, and another man were there. So while the women partied upstairs, the men watched football in the basement. I mean, this sounds quite typical of a
Right.
girls' night in, right? Tamla stepped out to the deck several times to smoke cigarettes and marijuana, though Jean reportedly asked her to stop doing that.
Yeah, so photos and videos from the night showed Tamla smiling, laughing. It looked like everyone was getting along. No one thought that she was overly, indulging. They didn't think that she was intoxicated, to the point where she didn't know like what was going on. But everyone was definitely partaking in various activities that it was a party, right? So no one's saying she wasn't drinking or that she wasn't smoking, but people thought it was under control. Around 1:47 a.m., someone said that they saw Tamla eating gumbo and talking about how she's going to have one last cigarette and then go to bed. And then that woman who saw her actually left. She didn't spend the night. So that's kind of giving you more of the timeline.
Got it. Yeah. So, well, we also have another stamp. The home security log actually recorded the back door opening at 1:49 a.m. So then it closes, opens again at 1:57 a.m. and staying open. And that was the last time anyone saw Tamla alive.
Yeah, so that's interesting because here we are, close to 2 a.m., and we have a woman saying she's leaving, and we have the door opening, and, it all kind of makes sense. But then there's this big gap, like a 6-hour gap. And it's 8:45 a.m. whenever Jean's aunt goes to make coffee and sees something outside. She sees pajamas in the grass, and she, realizes it's a person, and
Oh,
it's actually Tamla, and she's face down. It's a horrific sight. And so that, you just picture that moment, you get up, you're having your morning coffee, and that's what you see.
Final Days on Earth with Claire Sanamaw is sponsored by BetterHelp. Did you know that workplace stress is now one of the top causes of declining mental health? Most of us can't simply wave goodbye to work, but we can start small and focus on our own wellness. Taking a vacation is great, but it isn't a long-term solution to stress. Don't forget that therapy can help you navigate whatever challenges the workday might bring. Learn positive coping skills, how to identify your own triggers, and the importance of setting boundaries. BetterHelp has served over 5 million people globally, and the client reviews show how well it works, with a 4.9 out of 5 rating based on over 1.7 million reviews. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Unwind from work with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/finaldays. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/finaldays. Missing out on a show that everyone is talking about isn't an option for me. I'm constantly signing up for this streaming service or that one, and then a few months later, I realize I've still been paying for the service long after I finished the show. Getting Rocket Money was a game changer for me. They'll find your unwanted subscriptions and even help you cancel them, so you never have to worry about them slipping through the cracks again. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lower bills for you. They automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save, then you can ask them to negotiate for you. They'll deal with customer service, so you don't have to. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/finaldays today. That's rocketmoney.com/finaldays. rocketmoney.com/finaldays.
yeah. And so the 911 call that follows is chilling in so many different ways. Jose and Jean both get on the line. Jose says Tamla, quote, must have fallen. Jean says, quote, she's not moving, she's stiff. They both mention alcohol, but their tone is strangely calm. So I
Ye-
found that I mean, I personally might be freaking out if I saw a friend of mine laying dead in my backyard, but their tone, everyone responds differently, but that's just something to note.
Absolutely. Yes. Shock does a lot of things and different things to different people, but there have been comments about how straightforward this call seems. And um, considering what was discovered, some people have wondered, was it too calm? Those sorts of things.
Mhm.
But again, we're just telling you what the way this has all been perceived, and we
Right.
just like to note, it's not like she was screaming and shouting and crying. Sometimes that's what people do on 911 calls. Not
Yeah,
here.
and sometimes that is actually raising a red flag depending on,
Yes.
so yeah, this is just yeah, the internet has gone wild with this detail.
Right, right. So the police arrive, and based on the information they've been given, they go with the theory that Tamla has fallen and that it was accidental. But here's the thing, um, nothing about it feels like a normal fall. Tamla had a dislocated wrist. She also had a broken neck, and they noted lacerations. So maybe all of that could happen from a fall, if you fall just exactly, right? But I don't know. Some people, have wondered, could this have been caused by other injuries? Kind of makes me think of like the Karen Reed case where people, talk about her boyfriend, was he hit by a car or was he beaten up, right? Because sometimes these injuries, they just don't look the way you'd expect based on um the most obvious source. So, this is something that has continued to fuel questions and speculation here. Tamla's blood alcohol level was almost 3 times the legal limit to drive. And so that, has also brought up a lot of things. The fact that that's a lot of alcohol and it can cause some strange behavior. So, family and friends said that, Tamla was accustomed to drinking alcohol and that she had a high tolerance. So, I don't know, that's still a lot. 3 times the legal limit to drive is a lot of alcohol.
It is, and we should note she wasn't planning to drive. So,
Correct. Yeah, she
I guess
was she was in
she,
her pajamas tucked away for the night. Yeah, that's
yeah,
true.
exactly. So they also say her position, how they find her face down, arms arranged strangely. I'll use the word arranged in quotes because who
Yeah.
knows? But it didn't look like a fall. And if she did fall, why didn't anyone hear it? Why wasn't the scene? I guess the scene wasn't preserved.
Yeah, from what I've seen, it was treated just like an accidental death, and so it's
Mm,
not like they put up, like a big perimeter and treated it as though it was a crime scene. Some people might not realize this, but if you die accidentally, they don't call in the CSI unit, unless they suspect foul play. They actually just treat it as an accident, take statements, and then there is an autopsy if you die anywhere, except a hospital. There will be an autopsy, but it's not the same full-blown treatment as you get if they suspect foul play.
got it. So that makes sense because there were during her autopsy, it was reported that there were no fingernail clippings or sexual assault kit,
Right.
anything done, or they really, it seemed like that aligns then if they're going in and not raising a red flag that this was potentially more.
Yeah, they don't just do those things. Like there has to be um some type of reasoning behind it because that's time consuming, it's expensive, you have to have storage. I'm not minimizing like the importance of it. I'm just saying if there isn't foul play suspected, then that's not the protocol. So that, that's what police were operating under, the belief that this was an accidental fall, non-criminal. So something else, that we should talk about is that the boyfriend, he
Jean's
actually,
boyfriend, who was home
yes,
all night at
Jean's
the time.
boyfriend Jose.
Yeah, this gets a little strange.
It does. It does. So he actually worked in, for the county and was able to access the police records in this case using his work credentials. He actually lost his job over it.
Wow.
And people, yeah, so it's created a lot of questions. People wonder, if he potentially could have been, trying to find something that he didn't want public, wanted to see what were in the records for what reason. People have lots of questions.
Mhm.
And then also, the fact that the house had security cameras, like we talked about how the door, recorded the door opening and then closing, but they didn't work all night. And so we don't get to see, um, everything that went on in that house. And so people are like, ooh, did someone turn them off? They're questions.
Yeah, and then there was something, because the scene was not secured, it's like there are no cameras, we don't know who touched the body, when, if it was touched and move,
Right.
there's big open gap there as well. Which is really the theme of this case. The deeper you go, the more questions you have.
Right.
The sheriff's department ruled the death an accident in early 2019, but Tamla's family hired their own forensic expert, Dr. Michael Baden. You might know that name from the Epstein case. And he said homicide was a real possibility here. He believed Tamla may have been strangled before she was placed in the yard.
Yeah, that's a really interesting theory, and, the idea that, the fall was staged, is intriguing. So this expert also noticed something important, that there was very little internal bleeding, which you wouldn't expect from a fall like that. And so the expert, hypothesized that this could mean that she was already dead before the fall. They pointed out that her clothing was torn, her wrist was scraped. They even thought that possibly her fingers showed defensive wounds. So remember, she's found in the grass, so it's not like she's hitting concrete. So why would her fingers have like these scratches?
Yeah, that
It's strange.
Yeah. I mean, could have happened, I guess, any point leading up to the night, but it is worth noting, in a second look. And then also in that second look, they did find Xanax in her system. It was just
Yeah,
a trace, but no one knows where it came from because partygoers denied giving her any. But there was one woman at the party who had a prescription, and she was actually caught in that lie because she was texting a friend asking for more the next morning. So she had lied
yeah.
about it to police.
Yeah, interesting, right?
Yeah.
And so the people at the party are known as the Forsyth 12. That's kind of that's what's come across with this group of people who were all together that night. And they've actually sued a friend of Tamla's for defamation. It's getting heated. People are not backing down. You have these two different theories: accidental fall, foul play, and they both can't be correct. So,
Right. Right. Um, and I think one of the attendees there was even linked socially to a local law enforcement person. I mean, it gets a little bit messy, I guess, in any small town because,
yes.
of course, you're going to be friends, and with people in the community. But even this is also strange. The lead investigator had to resign after it came out that he shared confidential information and crime scene photos with multiple women he was dating. He called Tamla the porch lady in
Yeah.
messages, which is so terrible.
Yeah.
And this was the man in charge of the case. So he's now gone.
Yeah, it's very disturbing, and we should, talk about some of the racial undertones of this case. Tamla was black, and she was the only woman of color at this event, and so people have also, noted that and wondered, did that play a factor? It's all part of this really sad, tragic way that this woman's life ended. And no one has been charged in this case. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation (GBI) had reopened it, but they actually sided with the original findings and ruled it an accident as well.
Yeah, and the story is still unfolding because really Tamla's family doesn't believe it, her friends don't believe it, and more than 600,000 people have signed a petition asking for a federal investigation.
Yeah, you wonder, I mean, even now, like, how high is that number going to climb? Because,
Yeah.
that's a lot of people with questions. I think we can all agree that we don't have as many answers as we would like, and this family is grieving. I mean, remember, she was a mother of 5. She
Oh.
went out, for a girls' night, in the neighborhood, and it's just like, gosh, um it's so heartbreaking just to think about, um, everything that happened to her, and the fact that, her family is just left with so many questions.
Yeah, no, it's certainly it's a justice pending case if there
Yeah,
ever was one.
right? And so, yeah, there's always the hope that more information will come forward, that witnesses will speak up, that, possibly a new agency will get involved. I like to point out that there's no statute of limitations on murder in the United States. So if there's ever evidence of a murder, it doesn't matter how long has passed. Law enforcement can bring those charges. And so I hope that, someone listening might know something and come forward. And if you have information, there's a number for the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. It's 1-800-597-TIPS, TIPS. And you can call that number and share information, confidentially about this case.
Yeah, you can also leave a message on our website, justicepending.com, and we'll make sure it gets to the right authorities as well. We really want to thank Tamla's family and friends and those 600,000 plus people
Yeah.
for keeping her memory alive and for reminding us that justice isn't just a verdict, it's really the relentless pursuit of the truth.
Thanks for joining us on another episode of Justice Pending. We'll be back next week with an all new case.
Until next time, ask the hard questions, stay compassionate, and never stop seeking justice.
Justice Pending is recorded in Dallas, Texas for Rebel Studios. It's hosted by me, Claire Sanama, and Susan Passoni. Our theme music is Bending Truth, licensed at premiumbeat.com. We appreciate all listener feedback. Leave a review wherever you're listening right now, and we might read it on the air. Thanks for joining us.